What's going on, guys? Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'll be talking about a mostly realistic target for every NBA team this offseason, whether that be in free agency or in the trade market. But before we start, I tried to come up with a player for every team, but I couldn't think about one for every team, so do forgive me. If you disagree with anyone on this list, comment below who your team should target. The first team up is the Philadelphia 76ers, and the player they should target is Jonathan Isaac from the Orlando Magic. Isaac isn't a free agent, so they will have to trade for him, but they have their backcourt set with Tyrese Maxey and Quentin Grimes or Jared McCain, and they do have depth in that position, but a position they don't have depth in is the power forward position. With them more than likely drafting Ace Bailey, it doesn't leave Paul George much room unless you want them to play small ball and play him at the 4. Their defense is also questionable, and Jonathan Isaac fixes that problem, and I believe he can regather that offensive game, especially his 3-point shooting, when playing with Embiid, Maxey, Grimes, and even Paul George. I also believe his value is at an all-time low, so it shouldn't really take that much to get him. Vershawn Yabusele and a couple of second-round picks should get the deal done in a sign-and-trade, because Yabusele is a free agent this season. The next team up is the Milwaukee Bucks, and the player they should target is Austin Reeves from the Los Angeles Lakers. The Lakers are in desperate need of a center, and the Bucks have 2 centers, Bobby Portis and Brook Lopez, who are available. Both Portis and Lopez are free agents, so it all comes down to if they re-sign with the Bucks if Reeves is available to them. With Damian Lillard being out for most of next season, the Bucks desperately need another guard who can create his own shot and can create offense for others. And that's exactly what Reeves does. Both teams have something the other needs, so why not capitalize off it? If I was the Bucks, I would offer the Lakers Bobby Portis and the Bucks 2031 first-round pick for Austin Reeves. Up next is the Chicago Bulls, and the player they should target is Jonathan Kuminga from the Golden State Warriors. The Bulls are meant to be tanking, and yet they still made it to the play-in tournament. They have some players the Warriors could have an interest in trading for, like Nikola Vucevic or Kobe White. The Bulls are already guard-heavy, with Josh Giddey, Ayo Dosunmu, Toby White, and Lonzo Ball all getting minutes in the rotation. There's 2 things the Bulls need this offseason. Number 1 is more forwards, and number 2 is to get younger. And in this trade, they would get both. The trade could look like Nikola Vucevic and Kobe White for Jonathan Kuminga and Moses Moody, or something like that. With that being said, the Bulls' new rotation could look like Josh Giddey at point guard, Moses Moody as shooting guard, Matas Buzelis as small forward, Jonathan Kuminga at power forward, and Zach Collins at center, with Lonzo Ball, Ayo Dosunmu, Patrick Williams, Kevin Huerter, and Jalen Smith off the bench, plus whoever they draft with the 12th pick. The next team up is the Cleveland Cavaliers, and the player they should target is Chris Boucher from the Toronto Raptors. The Cavs needed a backup big man big time in the playoffs when Evan Mobley went down with a sprained ankle in Game 2 of the Pacers series. They had to play periods of time with DeAndre Hunter and Dean Wade at the center position. Boucher isn't the perfect backup center, but the Cavs need someone to come off the bench for 15 to 20 minutes a game and give them at least a little bit of offensive production in the playoffs while maintaining their defense. Chris Boucher is a free agent, and I don't think they'll have the cap space to sign him, especially with Ty Jerome being a free agent, so it would have to be part of a sign and trade, where Toronto sends Boucher to Cleveland, and Cleveland sends Isaac Okoro and 3 second-round picks to Toronto. The next team up is the Boston Celtics, and they're in a world of trouble. First, Jason Tatum is going to be out for a lot of next season with a torn Achilles, and now they have to trade either Kristaps Porzingis and or Drew Holiday to stay under the cap. There isn't a specific player they should be targeting. They just have to get players that'll keep them afloat until Tatum gets back. Trading Porzingis or Holiday for a bunch of depth instead of another star player would be the best option for them. Up next is the Los Angeles Clippers, and the player they should target is John Collins from the Utah Jazz. We all know the Clippers' defense is elite, but was on full display in the playoffs, even though they lost in the first round, but they still took the Nuggets to 7 games, even with a weaker offense. John Collins provides versatility on the offensive end with his elite dunking game, and he is able to stretch the floor too, something the Clippers don't have a ton of. He is mainly a 4-man that can play next to Zubac and Kawhi Leonard, and he can also play as a small ball 5 as well. For his size, he is a pretty poor defender, but if any team has the personnel to hide his weaker defense, it is the Clippers. The Jazz asking price may be a lot, so depending on how cheap they can get him, I'd be a big fan of it. The next team up is Memphis Grizzlies, and the player they should be targeting is Kevin Durant from the Phoenix Suns. I made a video on the Grizzlies' hopeful pursuit of Kevin Durant, so I won't go into too much detail, but they are in desperate need of another star. They lack leadership from their top guys, and while KD doesn't have the most influential leadership across all the stars in the league, he would bring the most leadership on the team. Kevin Durant's value is also at an all-time low right now with the falling out of the Suns. The Grizzlies' biggest need for the longest time is a star small forward, and that's exactly what Kevin Durant is. Up next is the Atlanta Hawks, and the player they should be targeting this offseason is Trey Murphy from the New Orleans Pelicans. We now know that the Pelicans' asking price for Murphy is a veteran that can contribute in the playoffs, a young player, and a first-round pick. It may seem like a lot, but Trey Murphy is one of the best and youngest two-way players in the league. His offensive game has come around this last season, and his defense is still incredible. The Hawks have the requirements the Pelicans are asking for: a veteran Clint Capella, a young player Zachary Resache, and a first-round pick they got from the Pelicans from the DeJounte Murray trade. You may be hesitant to trade the 20-year-old Resache, but if you don't make moves to help out Trae Young now, sooner or later he's gonna request a trade. And the age gap between Resache and Murphy is only 4 years. A starting lineup of Trae Young, Dyson Daniels, Trey Murphy, Jalen Johnson, and Onyeka Okongwu could make a serious push in the weaker Eastern Conference next season. The next team up is the Miami Heat, and the player they should be targeting is Jordan Poole from the Washington Wizards. The Heat could really use another ball handler and scorer at the point guard position, with Terry Rozier's incredibly poor play last season. Tyler Hero isn't a point guard. He's an incredible player and scorer, but his best position is scoring off the ball. Jordan Poole isn't the greatest ball handler or the most efficient scorer, but he is better as a creator on the ball. Whether they choose to play him off the bench and start Davion Mitchell to strengthen their defense. Poole wouldn't be too expensive for the Heat. The Heat would get Jordan Poole for Andrew Wiggins, Jaime Jaquez, and a second-round pick in 2027. The Heat, with a lineup of Jordan Poole, Tyler Hero, Haywood Highsmith, Bam, and Kel'el Ware, could make a push in the playoffs next season. The next team up is the Charlotte Hornets, and the player they should target is Chris Middleton from the Washington Wizards. A veteran is the exact thing the Hornets need. And no, not a Taj Gibson type of veteran. Someone that's going to help you in close games. It's clear the Hornets have the talent on their roster with LaMelo Ball, Brandon Miller, Miles Bridges, Trey Mann, Mark Williams, and Nick Smith Jr., but they can't seem to stay healthy at all. With the draft coming up and the Hornets having the 4th pick next year, they could have a very talented team with LaMelo Ball at point guard, VJ Edgecombe as shooting guard, Chris Middleton as small forward, Brandon Miller at power forward, and Mark Williams at center, with Miles Bridges, Trey Mann, Yusuf Nurkic, Josh Green, and Grant Williams off the bench, with Nick Smith Jr. and Josh Okogie fighting for playing time. For a young team, they have a very deep bench. The Hornets have 22 picks in total until 2031, including 3 in 2027. To that's all it should cost to get him on the team. The only thing wrong with this move is the last couple of years, Chris Middleton has had a couple of injuries. He is making $35 million a season, which is a lot, but he's an expiring contract, so it's only a 1-year rental to mentor Brandon Miller and VJ Edgecombe if they draft him. The next team up is the Utah Jazz, and they're a little bit different. Instead of targeting someone, they should trade all the guys that aren't a part of their future. Guys like Lauri Markkanen, Colin Sexton, John Collins, and maybe even Walker Kessler, if they get a good enough offer for him. Trading away these guys lets the young players like Isaiah Collier, Keontae George, Bryce Sensabaugh, Taylor Hendricks, Kyle Filipowski, and Walker Kessler develop. They have the 5th pick in this draft, and that's another young guy to give minutes to, where one of the current players could take rotational minutes away from. With the 5th pick, they're more than likely drafting Trey Johnson, and next season, they could have a starting lineup of Isaiah Collier, Trey Johnson, Bryce Sensabaugh, Taylor Hendricks, and Walker Kessler, with Keontae George, Kyle Filipowski, and whoever they get back from the players they trade off the bench. Up next is the Sacramento Kings, and the player they should target is Colin Sexton from the Utah Jazz. The Kings are back in mediocrity, where they aren't good enough to contend, but also aren't bad enough to get that franchise cornerstone in the draft, unless they get very lucky. I'd rather they go all in and try and win for at least one more season than to give up and go into another rebuild. It's crystal clear their biggest problem is their lack of a point guard, and Sexton is definitely not the perfect point guard, but he is a better option than Malik Monk and Keon Ellis full-time. It'll also allow Malik Monk to go back to his preferred role of being a scorer off the bench. Sexton shouldn't be that expensive to get. All he should cost is Jake LaRavia and a Spurs 2027 first-round pick. The Kings' new lineup could look like Colin Sexton at point guard, Zach LaVine at shooting guard, DeMar DeRozan at small forward, Keegan Murray at power forward, and Sabonis at center, with Malik Monk, Keon Ellis, Valanciunas, and Devin Carter off the bench. I also didn't know who the Knicks should target, so I thought they should find a new coach before making any changes to the roster. At the time I'm recording this, the Knicks have been rejected by the Mavericks to speak to Jason Kidd, by the Bulls to speak to Billy Donovan, by the Hawks to speak to Quinn Snyder, by the Rockets to speak to Ime Udoka, and by the Timberwolves to speak to Chris Finch. There's 3 very capable championship caliber coaches who don't have a gig sitting right there. One being a former Coach of the Year, Mike Brown. Another one that won a championship a couple of seasons ago, Moses Malone. And the last took the Grizzlies to their most successful season, record-wise, in franchise history. But no, they'd rather go for 1 in a million play of asking an already hired coach. It is the Knicks at this point. I shouldn't be surprised. There is definitely some changes they need to make to their roster in order to win a championship, but nothing they can do before they hire a new coach. Up next is the Los Angeles Lakers, and the player they should target is any center that's going to defend the rim and catch alley-oops. Rudy Gobert would be perfect on this team, but I can't see the Timberwolves trading Rudy away just because. And the Lakers don't really have anything the Wolves would want. The next player I target is Daniel Gafford, but the Mavs would ask for too much for him that the Lakers don't have, but he'd be a perfect fit on the Lakers. He's one of the best rim protectors in the league and catches anything that's thrown up to him, and already has chemistry with Luka and has played with Dorian Finney-Smith too. The next line of players they should target are the 2 Williamses, Rob and Mark, but both of them have a ton of injury history, so unless you get both of them, or a very solid backup plan, I'd stay away solely because they can't stay healthy. Then we've got Walker Kessler, but just like Gafford, I don't think Utah is trading him away unless they're blown away with the offer, but the Lakers don't have that much to offer the Jazz that would be interested in. And the final player on the market is Nick Claxton, who would be the best fit on this team. He's an incredible rim protector, can finish anything you throw at him, and isn't going to take shots away from Luka, LeBron, and Austin Reeves. But just like everyone else, there is one bad thing about trading for Claxton. He's making $25 billion a season for the next 3 years. But if you're serious about winning a championship, that's something you'll just have to put up with. The next team up is the Orlando Magic, and the player they should target is Nikola Vucevic from the Chicago Bulls. In the regular season, the Magic had the 4th worst offensive rating in the league. A worse offense than the Jazz, Heat, Blazers, Pelicans, and Raptors. In this trade, they get a much-needed center that was already a Magic 6 years ago and was an All-Star. He isn't the All-Star player he once was, but he did still average close to 20 points in Chicago. His defense is a little worrying, but if anyone can hide a poor defender, it's the Magic. In this trade, the Magic would get Nikola Vucevic, and the Bulls would get Wendell Carter Jr. back, Jet Howard, and a 2027 first-round pick. The Magic may be hesitant to give up another first-round pick after giving up 4 in the Desmond Bane trade, but the Magic are in desperate need of a center that can score the ball to help out Paolo, Franz, and Desmond Bane. This past season, Nikola Vucevic averaged 18.5 points and 10 rebounds on 53% from the field and 40% from free. The new Magic starting lineup will look great with Suggs at point guard, Bane as shooting guard, Franz as small forward, Paolo at power forward, and Vucevic at center, with Mo Wagner, when he's healthy, Dogart Batadze, Anthony Black, Jonathan Isaac, and Tristan da Silva off the bench. That's going to end part 1 of this video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to like the video and subscribe if you haven't already. And if you disagree with anyone I mentioned, make sure to let me know in the comments below, and also comment who you want your team to target.